For years, a secluded hilltop ranch in Los Angeles hid secrets the public never imagined. In 2018, Cesar Millan, globally known as the Dog Whisperer, relocated to this estate, but instead of peace, it marked the start of unraveling. Authorities soon launched a deep investigation. Training manuals were dissected, recordings and private documents were reviewed, and financial records were audited over 3 relentless years. By 2021, the shocking findings rocked even his most devoted fans. What surfaced exposed controversial training practices and serious financial troubles that nearly collapsed his empire. Cesar Millan was born on August 27, 1969, in Culiacán, Mexico, a place where dreams were often crushed by poverty. He grew up on a rural farm with no running water, no electricity, and barely enough to survive. But even as a child, one thing set him apart: an extraordinary bond with animals. At just 13 years old, while others doubted and mocked him, Cesar dared to dream of becoming the world's greatest dog trainer. His grandfather, recognizing his rare gift, nicknamed him the dog catcher. What seemed like a childhood fantasy would one day make him a household name around the globe. Cesar didn't learn from textbooks or classrooms, he learned from life. He spent hours observing how packs of dogs communicated, how they formed order without chaos, and how calm leadership always triumphed. Those raw, real-world lessons became the foundation of a revolutionary training method, one that would earn him both international praise and intense controversy. Cesar Millan wasn't just teaching obedience, he was changing the way the world understood dogs. In December 1990, at just 21 years old, Cesar Millan made a life-or-death decision that would change everything. With only $100 in his pocket and not a word of English, he illegally crossed the U.S. border, a journey so dangerous, he later admitted he was prepared to die trying. Smuggled in by a coyote, Cesar spent his first night in America sleeping under a bridge in San Diego, surviving by washing cars and scraping together odd jobs. But through it all, he never let go of his dream to work with dogs. Within months, something incredible happened. While working at a dog grooming shop, customers noticed that even the most aggressive dogs calmed down around him. Word spread fast soon. Troubled Pete owners across Los Angeles were seeking him out. His breakthrough came when he opened the Dog Psychology Center in a gritty corner of South LA. It was nothing more than a dusty lot with a few leashes, but the results were undeniable. Dogs others had given up on were being transformed under his care. Then Hollywood came knocking. Actress Jada Pinkett Smith was one of his first celebrity clients. So impressed by his natural talent, she paid for his English lessons and helped him legitimize his business on one condition: if he wasn't successful within a year, he'd go back to walking dogs. That gamble paid off. Through her connections, Cesar met TV producers who saw something special in the young Mexican immigrant with the fearless touch. In 2004, National Geographic took a chance on his story, and the Dog Whisperer was born. What started as a modest show exploded into a global sensation, airing in over 80 countries. With his calm energy and commanding presence, Cesar Millan captivated audiences and transformed chaos into obedience, one dog at a time. The show launched an empire: best-selling books, magazines, training tools, and even his own dog food brand. At its peak, his company Cesar's Way Inc. was valued at over $25 million. And his iconic motto, "I rehabilitate dogs, I train people," became part of pop culture history. For an immigrant who once slept under bridges, Cesar Millan looked like the embodiment of the American dream. Fame, fortune, a global platform, he had it all. But behind the success was a storm brewing. As his popularity soared, so did the criticism. Veterinary groups and modern animal behaviorists began raising red flags. They condemned Cesar's methods, finger jabs, leash yanks, dominance tactics as outdated and dangerous. The American Veterinary Society of Animal Behavior publicly denounced the dominance theory that underpinned his entire philosophy. Then came the tipping point. In 2006, an episode aired showing Cesar using a choke collar on a Labrador named Shadow until the dog collapsed. Viewers were horrified. Complaints flooded into National Geographic. Animal rights groups labeled the footage abusive. But the worst part, what aired was edited. Leaked documents and raw footage later revealed the dog had remained unconscious for nearly 30 seconds, something even crew members had objected to behind the scenes, only to be ignored. The backlash forced National Geographic to add disclaimers to episodes, warning viewers not to try Cesar's techniques at home. Meanwhile, his personal life was unraveling. In 2010, tragedy struck. Daddy, his beloved pit bull and longtime companion on the show, died of cancer. Cesar called the dog his best friend, mentor, and soulmate. He slept on the floor beside him in his final days, refusing to leave his side. Just weeks later, his wife of 16 years, Illusion, filed for divorce seeking custody of their 2 children, child support, and a significant portion of their asset. The emotional toll was overwhelming. In May 2010, Cesar overdosed on sedatives and sleeping pills. He later admitted it was the darkest moment of his life. Paramedics found him barely breathing, with dangerously low blood pressure. He spent 3 days in the intensive care unit, then was admitted to a psychiatric facility for specialized treatment. The financial hit was just as brutal. Court documents revealed Illusion received a $400,000 lump sum, $23,000 per month in spousal support, and $10,000 more for childcare plus a portion of their real estate holdings. As his personal and professional life unraveled, so did his grip on the spotlight. Ratings for the dog whisperer began to slip, and new, gentler trainers started taking center stage. For Cesar Millan, the empire he built with grit and instinct was now facing its greatest challenge from both the outside world and the demons within. In 2012, the unthinkable happened. The Dog Whisperer was officially canceled. After 9 seasons, National Geographic pulled the plug on the show that had made Cesar Millan a household name. Although he launched follow-up series like Cesar 911 and Dog Nation, lightning didn't strike twice. The magic was fading, and cracks in the empire began to show. Behind the scenes, several of his business ventures were struggling to stay afloat. Then came another storm. In 2015, Cesar was thrust back into controversy during an episode of Cesar 911. A training session went horribly wrong when a dog viciously attacked a pig on camera. The footage sparked outrage and triggered a full-scale investigation by Los Angeles County Animal Control and the Sheriff's Department. While Cesar avoided criminal charges, the damage to his reputation was immediate and brutal. But what the public saw was only part of the story. Internal records and unedited footage revealed a more alarming truth. The dog, a French bulldog mix named Simon, had a documented history of attacking small animals. Despite this, Cesar allegedly allowed him near pigs without proper safety measures. When the inevitable happened, the pig suffered a torn ear and required emergency veterinary care. Authorities even considered felony animal cruelty charges that could have landed Cesar in jail. His legal team claimed it was an accident during a routine training session, and while the charges were eventually dropped, the ordeal cost him over $200,000 in legal and crisis management fees. Still, Cesar Millan didn't fold. Instead, he did what he's always done. He adapted. Refusing to let controversy define his legacy, he pivoted to international markets, especially in Asia, where his techniques faced less resistance. He opened a sprawling 45-acre training center in California, offering immersive programs for both dogs and their owners. And on a personal note, he found love again. In 2016, Cesar announced his engagement to Geographic, signaling a new chapter not just in business, but in life. But behind the polished image and sprawling ranch, a financial storm was brewing. After Cesar Millan's move in 2018, investigators began digging into his empire, and what they uncovered was alarming. The house of cards was collapsing. Official documents revealed that several of Cesar's businesses had entered restructuring due to overwhelming debt. The once mighty Cesar's Weigh-Ins, a brand that once churned out best-selling products and training materials, had shrunk dramatically. Entire product lines were wiped out due to plummeting sales. One of his subsidiaries, Cesar Millan Peat Products, reported a staggering $4.2 million in liabilities against just $890,000 in assets. Meanwhile, other companies under his umbrella posted 3 consecutive years of losses totaling more than $1.7 million. The only thing keeping his brand above water: international conferences and licensing deals, ironically, in markets where his controversial methods were less scrutinized. Even more shocking were the internal documents and emails obtained by researchers. PR memos revealed detailed strategies to manage the backlash, hiring scientific consultants to defend his dominance-based training theories, despite overwhelming scientific consensus debunking them. One document outlined plans to edit TV segments, selectively cutting controversial moments and toning down the use of physical corrections. In one particularly telling email, a producer bluntly wrote, "We have to cut down on the corrections, more aggressively show the before and after, but not too much of the process." It wasn't just a brand in crisis. It was an empire in survival mode, scrambling to keep the illusion alive while the foundation crumbled beneath it. A newly uncovered message revealed another unsettling truth. Producers were deliberately manipulating camera angles to hide any signs of force in Cesar Millan's techniques. These editorial choices raised serious questions about the authenticity of his shows and the illusion they created for millions of viewers around the world. Former insiders began to speak out. Some claimed that what the public saw was a watered-down version of far more physical training sessions. Others described a toxic work environment where disagreeing with Cesar's methods could cost you your job. The picture that emerged was of a man once hailed as a visionary, now increasingly unwilling to accept alternative approaches and shutting out dissent in the name of control. But it gets worse. Investigators also uncovered a string of private legal settlements between Cesar's companies and dog owners, many of whom claimed their pets were injured during training sessions led by Cesar's certified trainers. The payouts totaled over $1.5 million since 2007. These weren't small claims. One German Shepherd suffered 3 broken ribs during a live demonstration. In another case, a Cocker Spaniel developed chronic anxiety and had to be placed on long-term medication after a session at the Dog Psychology Center in Santa Clarita. 12 settlements were documented, with compensation ranging from $50,000 to $415,000. Every one of them included strict confidentiality clauses, locking victims into silence. But the most damaging blow to Cesar's legacy came from deep inside his own home. Tucked away in his former residence were personal, unedited training videos, raw footage never meant for the public eye. Unlike the carefully polished episodes aired on television, these tapes showed the full extent of Cesar's methods, with no filters, no edits, and no camera tricks. According to a leading expert in canine behavior who reviewed the tapes, what they saw wasn't just controversial, it was disturbing. Experts reviewing the raw footage were stunned. What appeared on television as calm, obedient behavior was, in reality, something far more troubling. Behind those still stares and slow movements, the dogs were showing textbook signs of fear, not submission. In scene after scene, what viewers believed were rehabilitated, animals were actually trembling with anxiety, panting heavily, pupils dilated, bodies rigid with stress. These distress signals were carefully edited out of the final broadcasts. One particularly disturbing clip showed Cesar pressing a dog's neck until it collapsed to the ground. On screen, he calmly told his audience the animal had given up. But veterinarians who analyzed the footage saw something different, a dog shutting down in panic, not surrendering in peace. Behind the scenes, financial documents revealed another truth: Cesar's dog psychology centers were bleeding money in North America. With mounting criticism in the US, Canada, and the UK, the empire pivoted to international markets with looser animal welfare laws. By 2017, over 70% of the company's revenue came from Asia, especially China, where his dominance-based methods faced little resistance. The main training center in Santa Clarita, once the crown jewel, was now operating at a loss, barely kept alive by overseas tours and television royalties. Enrollment at his facilities dropped sharply as modern, positive reinforcement trainers rose in popularity. Licensed facilities using Cesar's name began rebranding or shutting down entirely to escape the growing cloud of controversy. Yet even as the empire cracked, Cesar Millan remained defiant and devoted fans stood by his side. Many dog owners credited him with saving their pets from euthanasia when no other options were left. They praised his rescue work, his foundation's efforts in underserved communities, and his unwavering belief that no dog is beyond redemption. In response to the backlash, Cesar finally broke his silence. In a public statement, he acknowledged that some of his earlier techniques no longer reflected his current philosophy. "My methods have evolved as I've learned more about dog psychology," he said. "I've always aimed to save dogs' lives and keep families together. Today, I focus on balanced discipline and emotional understanding, not force." Still, the world of animal behavior remains split. Some hail him as a revolutionary who got people thinking about energy, boundaries, and the importance of exercise. Others see him as a cautionary tale, a man whose rise was built on misunderstood instincts and media myth-making. Yet for all his fame, critics argue that Cesar Millan's obsession with dominance theory set the dog training world back years, delaying the shift toward more compassionate, science-based methods. While he captivated millions with his confidence and charisma, experts now agree the controversy he sparked became the very force that pushed the industry to evolve. Today, a new generation of trainers embraces empathy, psychology, and evidence, not dominance and intimidation. Modern dog shows highlight emotional intelligence and cognitive understanding, distancing themselves from the power-based paradigm Cesar popularized for more than a decade. Cesar Millan still works with dogs, but his days in the spotlight are largely over. The empire that once exceeded $25 million has shrunk dramatically. The Dog Whisperer survives through digital reruns and online nostalgia, a reminder of both his impact and the firestorm that followed. For many in the animal welfare movement, Cesar's rise and fall marked a turning point. His story forced the public to confront a simple but vital truth: how we treat animals reflects who we are. Trainers today emphasize respect for each dog's individuality, needs, and emotions, rejecting outdated methods that impose fear or force. In the end, Cesar Millan's legacy is complex. He revolutionized how the world saw dogs, but also became a symbol of what happens when methods fail to grow with the science. Files discovered in his former home paint a portrait of a self-taught man with immense talent and genuine love for animals, but also one who clung too long to a philosophy the world was leaving behind. As one former associate put it, "I believe he truly wanted to help the dogs. The tragedy was not knowing when to change." What happened inside Cesar Millan's private empire didn't just reveal hidden secrets, it ignited a conversation still echoing through kennels and living rooms across the world. A story filled with brilliance and controversy, light and shadow. So now we ask you, should Cesar Millan get a second chance? Or has his legacy already been written in full? What the FBI uncovered inside Cesar Millan's mansion sent shockwaves through fans, critics, and the dog training world alike. From sealed documents and confidential footage to financial files that painted a very different picture of the empire he built, this wasn't just a surprise, it was a revelation. For a man once seen as untouchable, the investigation marked a turning point. Questions now swirl: how much did the public really know? And what secrets still remain hidden behind those walls? One thing is certain, Cesar Millan's story is no longer just about dogs. It's about power, image, and the price of silence in a world built on loyalty and reputation. But what do you think? Did the FBI find the truth, or just scratch the surface of something even bigger? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications because this story is far from over.